denizens of the night. Welcome to another episode of the macabre, the terrifying. Broadcasting live from the top of a chimney on Christmas Eve, I will be your guide through the witching hours. Tonight, we'll hear the story of a very magical Christmas indeed. Natalie is in the first grade, and her Christmas wish list only has 4 things on it. You see, life has been tough since moving into her new stepdad's house with her mom. There isn't enough money to even keep the heat on, never mind a big tree with plenty of gifts. But Natalie wrote a letter to Santa himself, and with the help of a little Christmas magic, some wishes just might come true. This story is called Father Christmas and was written by Darren Todd. Natalie woke before her mom and snuck into the kitchen, where she could turn on a light without disturbing her. The only blank paper around was the back of her kindergarten report card. No one must have worried much about it, since Natalie found it under a stack of mail-order catalogs by her mom's messy workstation. Natalie had been asking for more paper for weeks, but Dale said she'd ruined the last notebook with stupid scribbles. Said she'd have to earn her keep before he'd buy her more, even if they did come from the Dollar Tree. She picked out a thick magic marker from a metal bucket. Her teacher said they wouldn't use the thin ones till 2nd grade, which was good because she had a hard enough time gripping the fat kind. The words came slow, and several of the letters she had to scratch out and write over again, but the list formed over the course of the early morning. The 4 things she wanted for Christmas. 4 didn't seem like too many. Jason from school kept saying how he'd gotten 10 presents last year, and no way he'd been better than Natalie. After a couple tries, she folded the sheet up almost straight. She stuffed it into an envelope that had come with her mom's bills, a nice pink one. She addressed it to Santa and looked at a bill to copy down their address so Santa would know where to find her. Then Natalie drew her favorite symbol on the corner of the envelope, 2 lines going up and down with 2 crisscrossing lines connecting them. She couldn't remember where she'd seen it, but she drew it on everything. The last line ended in a squiggle when she heard Dale's heavy footsteps outside the door. She quickly sealed the envelope, put away the marker, and then stuffed the letter into her school backpack as the door swung open. "What are you doing up?" Dale said. He still wore the heavy coat and hoodie from work, which reeked of cigarette smoke and body odor that Natalie could smell from several feet away. "I just got up," she said, careful to add nothing to her tone. "What were you doing?" She shook her head. "Nothing." "Then why's the light on?" "I turned it on to wait for Mama to wake up." From its thick nylon strap, Dale swung his large lunch bag onto the kitchen table with a bang, as if her mom had packed him bricks instead of food for his shift at the loading docks. It made Natalie jump. "Guess that's handy when you don't have to pay the goddamn electric bill. Now turn it off." He pulled back the short curtains covering the kitchen window and then opened the fridge for a beer. The kutch sound of the pull tab releasing the pressure sent a chill through Natalie, even if she couldn't say exactly why. She turned out the light and ran back toward the bedroom. She crossed the living room and almost reached the cracked door when Samantha, her mom, emerged and caught her mid-sprint. Samantha made an oomph sound when they collided. "Jesus, Nat, That hurt. Why are you running? 'Cause she ain't been disciplined, Dale said from the kitchen. He had evidently pulled some snack from the cupboard and crunched it loudly as he spoke. She runs around here all goddamn day and you don't do a thing about it. She's 5, Dale, Samantha said. What do you expect? Some appreciation, he said. Maybe a little peace and quiet? But seeing as I don't get it from the mom, can't expect it from her daughter, huh? Your daughter now, too, Samantha said. Natalie clung to her legs, but Samantha moved her to the side to get by. Stepdaughter, Dale said, which is like saying non-alcoholic beer. What's that mean, Mama? Natalie asked. Samantha kissed the top of her head. Go get dressed, Pumpkin. Make sure you brush your teeth first. Don't want you messing up your school shirt with toothpaste. Natalie tugged at her mom's sweatpants, which hung baggy on her slight frame. What, baby? Natalie pulled her down further and whispered in her ear. I need a stamp, Mama. What's she lying about now? Dale grumbled. He tipped up the remnants of his first beer, threw the can at the trash and missed, and went to fetch another. Just wants a stamp. I've got one in my purse. What the hell for? Dale said. You writing that loser daddy of yours? Daddy is not a loser, Natalie said through clenched teeth. She felt tears welling, but fought them back. How would you know? Dale said, then stared her down. You even remember him? Stop it, Dale, Samantha said. She ran fingers through her hair. What are you mailing, baby? Is it pretend or is it going in the mailbox? It's real, Natalie said, voice breaking a little. It's my Christmas list for Santa. It's going to the North Pole. It's North Pole, dummy, Dale said, laughing. Might as well save your mama the stamp. Dale, Samantha said, turning on him. What? She gotta learn sooner or later. God knows my daddy told me it was all bullshit when I was way younger than her. Natalie looked up at her mom, confused. Almost everything her stepdad said was just dumb, but the stray jab at her real dad had weakened her. She saw only the usual pity and remorse in Mama's face, and that did it. Tears blurred her vision, but she managed to run back into the bedroom before the whimpers escaped. A minute later, the door groaned on its hinges. One more fix Dale said he'd tend to when they'd moved in months ago. Without even turning around, Natalie knew her mom had come in. If it were Dale, the groan of the door would have sounded more like a sharp grunt, telegraphing his usual impatience. A hand caressed her back, which only made the crying worse. She refused to turn around, though. Is it true? She said, the words muffled by the covers. Is it all bullshit? The hand stiffened. Well, Samantha said, mail your letter and find out. How did they figure on sending the biggest dude in all of Trevor County Jail to the only work release Jeb Jones ever got and then expect Jeb to look out for him? Jeb had weathered his share of scraps over the years, but if this guy wanted to walk out of the post office with a sack of mail over each arm, there wasn't a damn thing Jeb could do to stop him. Guy must have stood 6'8" and had 100 pounds on Jeb. At least he didn't have any Aryan Nation tats, or nothing poking out from the coveralls they wore. Look here, Jeb said, and he pointed around the spacious square of the dead letter office. This is a good gig, my friend. Been here near 2 weeks now. My trial ain't set for 3 months, and I need money on my commissary account, but that ain't none of your business. Your business is sorting these here letters. That's it. It's easy, and it pays hella more than stomping plates in the metal shop." The huge man turned to Jeb and nodded, complimented by a short grunt. "Jesus Christ." "You quiet," Jeb said. "That's fine. Ain't much for jawboning myself. Look, man, it's simple. The place always gets dead letters. Shit they can't send nowhere, you see." He dug into a huge canvas bin and produced a handwritten letter. "This one's addressed to God, for fuck's sake. Care of heaven." He threw it back into the bin. "I seen 'em sent to Elvis, Bigfoot, even some of 'em sent to a goddamn secret military base on the moon. Like one stamp is gonna make that shit happen, even if there was a damn base." Jeb grabbed another handful of letters and held them up for emphasis. The big guy could hear okay, but could be brain damaged for all Jeb knew. "But this time of year, it's all to St. Nick. Place gets flooded with letters to Santa, and we's here to sort 'em out." Jeb grabbed several plastic bins from the floor and plopped them down onto the Formica countertop. "Now I know what you're thinking. Why bother, right? Just throw 'em in the fucking garbage. Serves kids right for wasting a stamp on some fairy tale." The big guy said nothing. He stood there, meaty hands hanging by his side twice the size of Jeb's mitts, and just listened. "Well, the government set up this thing where the kids get a letter back from Santa, like it's coming from the North Pole or some shit. Got a special rubber stamp and everything, with a postal code from an elvish post office or whatever. The parents are supposed to include a stamped envelope, but don't 1 in 10 remember that shit. Uncle Sammy mails 'em back a letter anyway. Kids in my trailer park ain't got enough money for goddamn pencils, but we gonna send every one of these letters a response." He pulled up a box of stamped envelopes and dropped them hard onto the table. He chucked the rubber stamp and a couple ink pads down as well. Then he turned to his helper and held up a finger. "Things is, my giant friend, this shit is skate. And while the jail can get by paying us pennies, the feds got different rules. We making 10 times what those dipshits is making back in lockup. Never thought I'd be happy about earning less than my daddy made mopping floors back in the goddamn 70s. But I never thought I'd spend Christmases in Slam neither." He pulled up a folding metal chair and sat. "You're lucky you on this detail at all. The guy I've been working with got called up to the majors, pulling a nickel upstate now. So let me show you how it's done, and let's have a nice, easy-ass time of this, all right?" The big guy nodded. If that was all his big, dumb ass did, that was fine with Jeb. Guard Brady came up near the end of the shift and nudged Jeb, who followed him off to the side. "New guy doing his job?" "Yeah, boss. He's working." Jeb looked over at the big man, who seemed unable to hear them, but who knew? "No trouble?" "No, boss. No trouble at all. We done for the day?" "Yeah, just about. Get it all cleaned up. I'll talk to the postmaster. We'll get out of their hair before they close up." "Yes, boss," Jeb said, turning back toward the table. The big guy had stopped working and was stock still, staring at a pink envelope. He turned it over and over in his hands, and a slow, terrible smile formed on his lips, the first expression the guy had made the whole day. It looked out of place and sent a full-on shimmy up Jeb's back. "Hey," Guard Brady said. Jeb turned back around. "Yes, boss?" "Don't forget to run the bins back over to the sorting windows. Postmaster said you boys forgot yesterday." "Sorry, boss. Will do." When Jeb turned again, the giant's smile had lessened but still lingered on his face. The pink envelope was nowhere in sight. The following morning, Jeb hadn't even set up the chairs before Guard Brady pulled him to the side. The big guy, still didn't know his name, damned if he cared, was somehow even bigger, all swollen up with some kind of bee in his bonnet. "What the hell, Jeb?" Brady said. "You told me this guy was legit." "I thought he was," Jeb said. "I mean, he worked fine yesterday. Boring as a stump, but he's a good worker." The guy asked the work release delegate for an advance, for Christ's sake. Been working a day and wants his money. Jeb thought about all the work that came out of Trevor County Jail and the mountains more out of Ottoman Corrections upstate. That the giant had asked for pay roused no anger or unfairness in Jeb, but that wasn't how he reacted. No, he gave Guard Brady what he wanted. Downturned eyebrows, open mouth, tilted head. "The hell you say?" Jeb said. "Yeah, then he empties out his commissary. Had a few $100 in there from working in the shop the last couple years." "The shop don't pay," Jeb said. "Boss," he amended. "Does for skilled labor. Guess he's a locksmith or whatever." "Look, the guy reeks of flight risk. You keep a close eye on this asshole today. I'd hang around, but I got shit to do, and the shuttle driver sure as hell ain't too keen to wait around on Christmas Eve. You vouched for him. He's your baggage." "Damn it to hell." "Yes, boss. I'll watch him. He's probably just looking to mail off his wages to family or something. It is Christmas." Guard Brady grumbled and leaned to one side as if to inspect the big guy several yards behind Jeb. He put a finger in Jeb's chest. "You watch him." But Guard Brady had been right. Something was up with the formerly chill giant. The day before, he seemed to wear his size like an afterthought. Like maybe his big ass was just as tired of lugging all that bulk around as other people were of dealing with it. Today, he looked at home in that giant's skin. Before, his big hands fumbled with the mail, knocked over the rubber stamp and the soppy-ass sponge to wet the envelopes. Now he moved all lockstep, robotic. If Jeb was only now seeing the dude, he'd think he was one more badass wearing his heart on his sleeve, not the same guy who'd been all turned in on himself the day before. "You all right?" Jeb asked him. The big guy looked up, hand swallowing the rubber stamp and hovering midair, and nodded once curtly. He brought down the stamp so hard the top of the formica shook. "'Cause word is you thinking of making a run for it." At this, the man paused, but resumed his fuming work a moment later. "Look, this is skate-ass duty, like I told you. Today's even a half day. 4 hours and we're done. Don't come back till the 26th. Guess all them kids who got their letters in a little late still get something back. 'Just got your letter, see you next year,' or some shit. You believe that? Kids back home be lucky to see their daddies on the holidays, and these fools can't even get a letter in the mail on time. Then still get some all shucks shit as a pat on the head." Jeb looked at the big guy, but nothing close to levity passed over his enormous features. "Look, man, I don't know you. Don't care if you spend now till New Year's never saying a word. But don't fuck me, man. Just do your shit and we can both make out." The time oozed by when Jeb had to keep one eye on those stupid letters and the other on the hulk next to him. Every pounding of the rubber stamp needled his nerves. What started as, "Easy, man," turned into, "Knock that shit off." as 1 hour turned to 2 and 2 to 3. The postmaster wheeled over a bin and said, "Finish what's in front of you, and that's the cutoff. The carriers will pick up their last loads in 10 minutes. Everything else we put away and deal with after Christmas." "You got it, boss." 5 more times the rubber stamp rose and fell like a goddamn sledgehammer breaking a mold. Then the Hulk stood. "Jail shuttle ain't coming for 15 minutes, Jeb told him. "So chill. Stack those bins up and put them under the table if you're looking for something to do." "Bathroom," the Hulk said. The single word came out more like a grunt, and since Jeb had never heard him speak, dude never even went to the head once yesterday, come to think of it, he didn't even realize it was speech at first. "We're back at the jail in half an hour, and they done cleaned all the heads up in here. Just hold it." Jeb knew not a damn thing about whether the toilet was clean. He just didn't like letting that dude out of his sight. But like he hadn't even listened to a word, the big guy said "bathroom" again and started walking that way. He looked pissed off even walking to the can, fists clenched and all bowed up. Maybe the dude was stopped up and that was his problem. Either way, not much Jeb could do but watch him walk away. He finished his stack of letters and packed up. If there was one thing he'd learned doing time, it was to leave a man to his business, whether that was taking a dump or jerking off. In the jail toilets, you might sit 2 feet away, knees damn near touching, with nothing even resembling privacy, but you mind your own business. So only once guard Brady showed up with the van did Jeb realize that the Hulk had been in the bathroom the better part of 15 minutes. "Where's Big Ben?" Brady asked him. "He's in the John," Jeb said, trying his best to sound nonchalant, bored even. "Well, go grab him then. I got a Christmas Eve ham waiting on me, and I damn sure ain't gonna be late on account of a piss break." "Yes, boss." Jeb's stomach cramped up on the way to the bathroom. He felt light, nervous even, like he did on his court dates. Hell, stealing catalytic converters was easy compared with going to court and having the whole shit show decide your fate without even looking up from their books. Forget jail, it was court that made Jeb feel like a ghost. Probably because he knew what was coming even before the judge said a word. Same now. He knew that bathroom was empty before he even opened the door, before he looked out the window and saw the snow disturbed on the pavement. "Son of a bitch," he said. Any hope of seeing his sister on Christmas now as likely as guard Brady sharing his wife's ham. Camping out in the living room might have been a bad idea. For one, it was freezing cold. A month ago, Dale had brought home a cube heater for the bedroom after Samantha complained a million times, but that still left the living room only slightly warmer than outside, where a blanket of snow promised a white Christmas the following morning. Through the window across from the couch, the only thing the falling snow made Natalie feel now was creeped out. If she could just stay awake, it'd be fine, but she kept slipping in and out of sleep, so every time she woke and saw the shadow of those fat flakes on the wall, it made her think about something trying to come in. And after every mini-nap, she stared in the half-dark to the left of the huge television to her tiny tree. The one that wasn't a tree at all, but a rosemary bush that she'd begged her mom to buy from the grocery store, wrapped in red foil and with a green bow wired to the front. It sat on the TV stand, despite Dale's grumbling. Beneath it, in front of the stand, she could just make out the same 3 packages that had been there for the last several days. Samantha's gifts to her and to Dale, and Natalie's gift to her mom, which she'd made at school. Dale could get his own gift. So, no Santa yet. Hard to tell how late it was. She could hear the kitchen clock ticking, but couldn't see it, and wasn't all that good at reading those kinds of clocks anyway. She nodded off again, woke again. Only this time it wasn't the ticking clock she heard, but a weird jangling sound from the door. Natalie buried herself under the covers. Dale was coming home around midnight, had told Mama as much a dozen times, complaining about having to work Christmas Eve at all, even for half a shift. It must have been him. Only it didn't sound so much like a key in the lock. More like someone jiggling keys when they couldn't find the right one. Dale's keyring only had 2 keys on it, and a stupid silver keychain in the shape of a naked woman that Mama hated, and so Natalie hated too. She thought about taking her blanket and running back into the bedroom. Mama might not even wake up, but she stayed put, blanket over her head, until the jangling stopped and the door creaked open. Wait, creaked open? Dale never came in like that. Never cared if he woke the whole house when he got home. Now a mixture of excitement and fear came over her. Holy crap! Could it be him? Would he get mad if he knew she was still awake? That she hadn't been able to find any cookies or milk to leave out, but had to settle for a juice box and some soda crackers? Oh, would he decide to keep her presents even after coming all this way? From under the blanket, she tracked his footsteps. They came all slow and careful. Definitely not Dale. She tried to keep from making a peep, but a small whimper of excitement escaped her. The steps stopped, and then started in her direction. Her heart hammered, sounding like a drum in her ears. She tried holding her breath, but couldn't do it. She could feel him over top of her now, could even see the darker form through the blanket where he was blocking the glow from the street lights. Another whimper spilled out when something took hold of the blanket. It pulled the fabric back, revealing her hair and then her face. Even in the darkness, Santa's features were unmistakable. Long white beard, bright red suit. Only this one didn't look as real as lots of the others. The beard was clearly fake. The hat barely fit on his ginormous head. The suit was too small. This Santa was really big. Even crouched down, he was still taller than the couch. "Hello, Santa," she whispered. Santa waved. "I waited for you. Did you get my letter?" Santa nodded and pulled the letter from his pocket. He held it up in the light from the window and wiggled it back and forth. The motion pulled down the too short sleeve of his suit. "What's that on your arm?" she asked. A knock at the door pulled Samantha from a deep sleep. Christ, what time is it? Dale kept 2 heavy blankets over the windows, so the room never left near darkness without a light on. "Somebody get the door," she mumbled. She instantly fell back asleep and was in the middle of a dream already when the knock came again. "Nat, baby, get the door." A third knock, this one followed by a muffled voice. Samantha opened her eyes to the usual deep gray of the bedroom, though her bio clock told her it was morning and not the middle of the night. She roused enough to check the crook of her left arm, where Natalie snuggled during the night, but found only an extra pillow nestled there. "Ned?" she mumbled. Right. She'd slept on the couch, where she'd sleep every night if it were up to Dale. Can't believe she made it through the night. Samantha kicked at Dale's side of the bed, but failed to connect with him. Lazy ass. She got up and headed into the living room. "Coming!" she called. On her way, she spotted Natalie still snoozing, covers pulled high around her, a Santa hat on her head. Where'd she get? Samantha's foot sang in pain as it struck something hard and metal in the way. She grabbed at her foot and hopped. "A bike?" she hissed. "What in the ever-loving hell?" She spotted 2 other unwrapped gifts by the TV stand, a doll and a pogo stick. She felt a rush of affection for Dale that she hadn't felt since their wedding day. More so, even. Finally, after months of bickering and petty bullshit, he was ready to be her father. Here, Samantha had already written him off getting Natalie anything, but this was amazing. Another knock. "Police department!" "The what?" Samantha said. She limped into the kitchen, foot still sending flashes of pain up her leg, and opened the door. At the bottom of the 3 steps stood a young officer, clad in a thick, satiny coat zipped high against the cold, his hat wrapped in plastic. She guessed to keep the small flakes that still fell from ruining the material. "Hello, ma'am. Are you Mrs. Samantha Ruin?" "It's pronounced Rune. Not anymore. That was my ex-husband's name. I'm Picard now." "My apologies. But you were married to Howard Rune, correct?" "That's right. What's this about?" "Well, I'm not trying to alarm you, but as you probably know, Mr. Rune has been at Trevor County Jail for near 2 years now. He was assigned to a work release program for the holidays for good behavior, and he fled the job site." As if cued by some Hollywood producer, a breeze kicked up, chilling Samantha's exposed feet. She shivered. The officer, probably seeing alarm in her expression, held up his gloved hands. "Ma'am, it's all right. No reason to be afraid. He turned himself in this morning. Earlier this morning, I mean, about an hour ago. He's back in custody." Relief flooded her, but confusion competed for space. I wasn't afraid, just shocked. He's in for theft. It's not like he beat me, but I guess I don't understand, officer." "We're trying to find out where he went. Is this your home?" She shook her head. "No, this is my husband Dale's place. My daughter and I moved in just before we got married. Been a few months now." She pointed to Dale's car in the driveway. "That's Dale's car. He works the night shift, but he's home now. I should go get him." The officer shook his head. "That's not necessary. Like I said, Mr. Rune is back in custody." "So you didn't see anything? No one came by at all?" "Santa came," Natalie said from behind Samantha. Her daughter ducked under her arm to see the officer. "Santa came last night, and he left me presents." The officer smiled. "I'm sure he did. I think he came to my house, too. I'll be checking with my sons about that very soon." He looked up at Samantha and tipped his cap. "You have a Merry Christmas, ma'am. Nothing to worry about." Lingering shock kept her from offering any response. She only closed the door against the morning chill. She turned around, and there stood Natalie, waving an envelope in her face. "What, baby? What is it?" "He got me everything on my list." Samantha took the pink final notice envelope Nat must have pulled from their ever-mounting stack of bills. Sure enough, distinct colored script addressed it to Santa, with their return address in equally bulky letters in the upper left. "I thought you mailed this, Nat," she said. "I did, Mama," Natalie said, and pointed to the stamped seal on the front, which made it seem as if it had gone through the North Pole post office. Samantha thought she'd seen something about that a few years ago on the news. "Hey, Dale, come check this out. Nat got her letter back." Maybe the new Dale would care about such things. She flipped it to find a symbol on the back. Natalie had drawn it before, several times, only this one was redrawn, the corrected lines neater. "What's that mean, anyway?" Natalie said, pointing to her artwork on the envelope. "It's Nordic. A rune," Samantha said, amazed at Natalie's memory. How long since Natalie had seen that symbol? "It means family. I see you drew over it. It's actually better now. A lot closer to the rune, I mean. You remember where you saw it?" Natalie smiled and nodded. "Santa had it," she said. She pointed to her forearm. "He had a picture of it, right here." Samantha tried to pull in a breath, but the air refused to fill her lungs. Even when she panicked for lack of it, she couldn't make the involuntary muscles come to life. "What's wrong, Mama?" At last she gasped, her systems restarting. "Dale, get the hell out here, now!" Samantha snatched the letter from the open envelope and scanned the grape-colored script. After a paragraph of wishing Santa Merry Christmas, she found the list at the bottom of the page. A new bike? Crossed out. A pogo stick like Andrea has? Crossed out. A doll that can cry? Crossed out. And at the bottom, a single line of her only child's script that contracted Samantha's insides as if she were again in the throes of labor. "And I want my stepdad Dale to stop hurting me." Crossed out. Samantha looked up at Natalie, finally seeing what she had been blind to these last months. The skittish evasions when Samantha tried to hug her, the mysterious bruises, the crying spells, all writ large on her daughter's face now, as if compounded by the Christmas morning aura coming off the blanket of snow outside and illuminating the living room. "Dale," she growled, the sound making Natalie back away. Samantha shook her head and motioned her daughter closer. She pulled her little girl into a hard hug, and tears flooded her eyes. "I'm sorry," she wept into that tiny shoulder. "I'm so sorry." "It's okay, Mama," Natalie said. "Santa took care of it." Samantha pulled out of the hug and looked at her daughter, at the hat, the envelope, the toys beneath their pitiful tree, and suddenly she understood. "Dale?"
Oh, if you ask this late night host, I'd say everyone got what they deserved, especially Dale. I very much appreciate stories like this one, which add some real-life grit to them and tell a non-traditional Christmas story. The end of the year is rife with holidays and family gatherings, and the pressure to make resolutions and new beginnings, and also to remember days gone by. It's a lot for a brain to process, and it's often messy and imperfect, mixing painful emotions with the good. Life is very seldom shaped like a Hallmark movie. But if you've been good all year long, sometimes, maybe even this year, your Norse Santa Daddy will burst through the door of your double wide and destroy your evil stepdad. On, Dancer! On, Prancer! My fists still thirst for blood! Oh! If you enjoyed this story, then boy do I have a holiday miracle for you. Darren has written quite a number of stories, both long and short, and you may have heard one of his on this channel already. I'll add a link to 8 Ball at the end of this video, and a link to Darren's body of work on the Zon in the notes below. Please leave a like on this video, and subscribe to hear more stories like this one. Whatever you do, make sure you stay on the nice list. Or else. And go ahead and fall asleep before Santa arrives. Oh!